Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this episode we're going to look at a stud welder for dent removal. In previous episodes we have started to repair the damage on the MGA, and there were a lot of good comments from my subscribers and also viewers that stated that it might be a good idea to use a stud welder to remove some of those smaller dents. So I figured out, why not? It's only 200 euros, it's not the end of the world, and maybe it's going to help me big time. 2 days later, the tool arrived in a card box, and inside the card box, I had this plastic box with all the tools inside. Not a very sturdy plastic box, because I think the handles that are on the sides, they're going to come off after a couple of times, but I don't really worry about the box itself. I worry about what's inside. So let's have a look inside. The box is packed with all kind of stuff inside. So let me spread it out and then we have a closer look. There is an instruction book that comes with it explaining what to use and how to use it. Not too bad overall. Not that it's such a complex matter, but it's always handy to have something like this. It comes with 2 packs of stud nails, a large one which is 2.4 millimeters and a thinner one which is 1.8 millimeters. Lots of stud nails, I have to admit. If we want to use the stud nails, then you need to install this adapter on the gun so you can slide in the nail and then you can weld it up. It is also slightly magnetic, so the nail stays in. It also comes with a set of washer studs, so you can weld those on to the metal like so, and therefore you need this adapter and put it to the gun. It also comes with a bag of extended washers like these, so you can weld them all next to each other and then feed a bar to it, but for that you need this extender on top of the gun. Have this wavy wire that you can weld onto any metal panel, and then you need to use this adapter on the gun. And when I say gun, I mean the stud welder. And finally, we have an adapter for spot welding, or whenever you removed the studs, you can actually flatten that surface with this specific adapter for the welding gun. And finally, we have the sliding hammer. This is pretty good quality, there's nothing wrong with it. It comes with multiple attachments in the front. So this specific one is actually for pulling the nail studs, and you need to tighten it up whenever you pull it. But you can attach a hook to it, like so. Or you can apply a claw to it as well. So you have a couple of options that you can connect to this sliding hammer. Not bad. We still have to see how good it works. And my experience so far with the nails is not very good. The nail isn't holding very well, so whenever you're using this tool here, the sliding hammer, you need to tighten up this nut here, and the problem is that while you do so, the little bit of movement you make, the nail lets go, or the nail stud lets go. So yes, this is good. The claw is a bit light, I think, but it will do the job, and this hook is quite all right. So that is not too bad, but now let's get to the real thing. So this is our stud welder, and it's blaze orange, so you can't lose it in the workshop, but it's very heavy. So if you're going to drop it, this plastic is very brittle and it's going to break. It's very hard plastic, it's not protected. It is not watertight either or humidity tight, there's no safety markings on it. So this for sure has been built in China, there's no doubt about it. Not that China cannot build proper equipment, but this one isn't, and certainly not for the price. I guess you pay for what you get. Anyhow, there is very little you can control on this welder. You have a trigger here, and it doesn't matter how long you hold the trigger. The amount of current and for how long is determined by the settings on the control panel. So on the control panel, you have an option for the different studs you want to weld on, and you just select them by pushing this button right here. You can see how the LED is changing position. So right now position 1 is for the nail stud. I can also set the duration of the weld, which is by the upper part. And you can see the LED is going up. So this is all what this thing can do. Nothing more. So the trigger that you have with your finger doesn't really matter. So if I was to weld these stud nails, I would select number 1, as you can see. And then, depending on how thick the stud is, I would then select more or less time to get it welded. It is not about, the top part is not about more or less current, it's the duration that changes. And I noticed that that is not really working at all for the stud nails. At least it didn't work for me on the MGA. Maybe it was the metal, I don't know, but we're gonna try it over here. Now let's have a look in the front of that gun, welding gun. Looking at the top of the stud welder, you can see those 2 big fixed brass extensions. That is actually one electrode pushed against the panel. And then in the middle, we have a spring-loaded part right there. And that's where you need to put in the adapter, like so. So whenever you're going to weld, you need to push everything down so the nail pushes hard against the panel, and you need to make contact between the tip of the nail and those 2 brass contacts. And the current will flow from that part onto the nail through the panel, and this is how you're welding on that stud nail. And it's the same thing for the washers or the extended stud washers, whatever. It's the same thing, just different attachments. But as you can see, this is really crooked. This is not straight, you know, and I don't really like it because this can easily touch the side if you're using those washers. So you got to be watching out. So I didn't drop it. It's just badly assembled. We're going to try to weld on some stud nails, both the thin one and the thick one, on a 0.6 millimeter metal panel, which is very thin. And then we will do it on a 1.5 millimeter piece of metal and see what the difference is. So let's weld on the largest stud nail in position number 1 of the stud welder. And let's see, comes off like nothing. So position 1 on the lowest power, duration doesn't work. So I'm gonna go to position number 1, but then maximum power, as you've seen on that dial before. So let's give it a try. Now, that looked a bit better. And let's see. And this is good, right? This is pretty solid. But not 100%. But I can see that we got a nice marking. Now I'm going to use a thinner one. I'm now placing a thinner stud nail in. And let's see what it does. I'm just going to go next to it a little bit. And this is maximum power. Now that is a lot better. And you can actually see that it's been burned through. For the larger stud nails, position number 1 doesn't really work, even at the maximum duration of time. It just doesn't work. For the smaller ones, it did work on the maximum duration of time. So the low duration of time is useless. But now let's try this on a thicker panel. I'm going to go position 1 for stud nails, and we go in the longest duration, and let's see. Yeah, and that's welded on pretty sturdy, so this is really good. You know, you can see it's actually welded on in an angle, but it's good. So let's try the thicker one now on the same piece of thick metal. And you might have seen when the stud nail is always bent, and that's because I need to make proper contact with the nose, and that nose isn't right. Oop, and it came off. It didn't even stick to the metal. All right. Oh, that comes off too easy. So the thicker nails, stud nails, don't really work. There's not enough power on the gun to do that in position number 1. I'm going to set the gun once, just out of interest, to the maximum current, really for spot welding. And try it with the larger stud nail. Maximum power, maximum duration. Now let's see what it is. We got like 3 pulses. That's not bad, but it comes off a bit too easy. You can actually see it on the head. It's really not welded on properly. And also, you might have noticed that most of the times the stud nails are always in an angle. They should be straight. And the reason why they always come in an angle is because this whole part here is first of all loose, and the front beak here is also bent, so it's not straight. So it's quite normal because you need to make contact with both edges. And because that is crooked, the nail is crooked onto the panel. So now we're going to try to weld on one of those meshed wires. But you can see I already changed the tip out here, how closely that tip is to the upper part. So it can actually touch. I have to be very careful with this. All right, so let's see if we can weld this on. I've set it to the wavy wire, position 4, and maximum duration. So let's see what this is telling us. So I'm at the wavy wire setting and maximum duration. All right, that's 1. That's 2. Three, 4. So let's see how solid that is. Oh, this is quite all right. Although, if you look closer, it's not really welded all the way in, is it? So I'm going to redo this on maximum power, which is actually intended for spot welding. I think this might be welded a lot better. Okay, I've done 3 of them. And let's see. Yeah, this is certainly better, but not really good penetration, I would say. So, no good. Now let's go for the washer studs, which we're going to try to get onto the panel and see how well it goes. And for that I need another attachment. Like so. I can put the washer in. Okay. And I'm going to set it for washer and maximum duration. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully this works like this. All right. Whoops. No, that is stuck on it. It shouldn't be. I think the washer has pretty good penetration, I think. But let's do it one more time. And now let's see. Not really. Doesn't really work. All right. It's time to try out the extended washers, but I have not a lot of hope. They go in like this. However, you need to put an extension on the front. And I can't even get that extension on just because things are so bent. But let me try to force it on anyway. Oh, I can't get it any further. Let's see if this is going to be far enough. Hopefully it is. So let's give it a try. Oh my God, everything. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit, man. And now it's in position 3, maximum power or maximum duration. Now that looked a bit better, but look, this is garbage. Doesn't stick. And just in case you might think it's me doing something wrong, let's do it one more time. No, well, I see, the whole thing falls apart. Even that adapter falls out. Useless. And now I'm going to try one last thing, which is the spot welder. So here's our adapter for spot welding. I don't think this is going to work. So I'm going to set it maximum power, spot welding, maximum duration. All right, so let's give it a shot. You know, this isn't doing diddly squat, absolutely nothing. I'm going to try it one more time, but it doesn't do nothing, right? It's flat out ridiculous. So if you're going to ask me now if this VEVOR 800 watt stud gun welder for dent removal or dent repair is worth the money, it is not. You've seen how it works. You've seen how imprecise it's been built, how it's been bent. And it was not because it fell down, that's how it came. It's just bad assembly, bad QA. It doesn't weld really anything. When we looked at the spot welding, the last thing we did, it doesn't have any power, it does do nothing. It worked a little bit on the smaller stud nails. That was reasonable, but I had to go to maximum power, maximum duration on this. So the whole control panel doesn't make sense at all. It's way underpowered. It's just, you know, a gadget. So I would say don't buy this kind of gun or welder, stud welder, because it is really wasting your money. It's useless. But I don't want to let you go like this, because we're going to have a look inside. What is this all about inside, and see how it's built. Maybe that will explain us a couple of things. Now, I'm sure if you buy a decent brand, that these kind of tools are working pretty well. But this one, no, it's just crap. It's not worth the money. And I'm sure inside we're not going to find a lot of high-tech stuff either. It's just going to be probably a bloody transformer and some controllers. And I will turn it around so you can see what I'm talking about. Here it is. The controller. This is this little module that goes with this flat ribbon to that front panel with the LEDs. We got our trigger that doesn't do much than just, you know, kicking off the controller really. And then we have the big transformer. It looks like it's a copper transformer. So the small windings are the primary windings where the current will flow through. And then the thick wiring, the flat bars here, that's the secondary. So you have low voltage, but high current, or supposed to be. This is just a thermostatic switch. When it gets too hot, it will break the current, just in case you would overheat it. And then, yeah, we have the two electrodes, right? We have one side of this big bar that comes from here, and the lower part comes from the other side, so that's the secondary winding. If I push it back a bit, look, because this is really a bolt in brass, but of course that cannot slide properly, and it has a lot of play on it. This must be a flex point. I'm not sure how they've done that, I'm not going to open up that part, but not too sure because it's flexing a lot here. So that might be a point where it may break over time. That's going to be certainly a weak spot. And that's about it. There's not much more to it. The whole front here, this was really badly assembled. In fact, I could even lift out the whole thing. Look, here it is. See how all this is very cheaply assembled. I don't need the plastic anymore, except on this side. So yeah, this is really, not what you would expect. So I could probably try to fix this a bit. This part should be okay. I can tighten this up a bit, but then, and this part I probably could bend it over so it fits properly again and it's straight. But it's not the kind of thing I should be doing, probably the bend here is not correct. But I'm going to give it a try. But on the other hand, the whole bloody thing doesn't work. So I might as well throw it in the trash can. So folks, we've come to the end of this video. And my conclusion is that the stud welder repair kit from VEVOR is useless. Don't buy it. It's a waste of money. Now, of course, it could have been that I've been the unlucky one with a faulty device, but I don't think so. I think they're all the same. But I would like to hear from you, from your comments. And I'm sure that there are stud welders on the market for dent removal, but not this one. Thank you for viewing, and by all means, put up your comments. Thank you.